Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of the college football season. Let's go ahead and see when all the games are finished what we think the AP poll is going to look like. Let's dive on into rankings right now. So we are here on the homepage of rankingsrightnow.com. Go ahead and look at the projected rankings after all of the games are done this weekend. So you see all of them are scheduled with their projected scores. We have none in progress and none of them completed. And here we are. Similar rankings up top, a little bit of movement between Ole Miss and Alabama. Tennessee's one that we're going to pay attention to here in a minute. But some of the ones that you notice right now are Oklahoma State moving up a couple slots after beating Utah. We have Nebraska beating Illinois, and they're going to move up a little bit. And a big one right here, Oklahoma dropping 6 slots after losing to Tennessee. Those are the big ones right now. We also have a good game with USC and Michigan. They're going to have some big ranking implications, but not a lot of movement up top, which is kind of why USC and Oklahoma State are blocked from moving up any further. However, that typically isn't what happens. We see a little bit of madness that creeps in as the games start to go. I expect a lot more movement than what we're seeing right now, and there's still a good amount of movement. Let's dive into a couple of what-if simulations. I'm going to go ahead and go to the what-if simulation tool for rankings right now. We're on week 5 of the AP Top 25. Here is the same projected rankings that you just saw. Let's go ahead and change up a little bit. So, first one I want to look at is Oklahoma at home is not favored against Tennessee. Tennessee looks like an absolute juggernaut with their offense right now. Let's go ahead and say that this is really a high-scoring game with Oklahoma coming on top. Let's go ahead and change this to maybe 40 to 37. I'm going to go ahead and run the simulation. And now when we see this, a lot more movement. Why is that? Well, Oklahoma is going to move up from the 15 slot up to the 10 slot, and Tennessee is going to drop all the way down to 14. That's a big jump for sure. Now, another one that's really interesting is Michigan is again an underdog at home. They were an underdog earlier this year against Texas. They're an underdog again against USC. Let's go ahead and change that game as well. Let's go ahead and just leave this one for fun, and let's go ahead and find the Michigan game against USC, and let's say Michigan squeaks out a really tough game. A Big Ten score, 20-17. Let's run it again. Also with the same upset happening in Oklahoma, just to make things a little bit more gnarly. And here we are. It's really quick, really fast, really easy. Here are the new rankings in this scenario. You have Michigan now jumping up from 18 up to 15, and USC dropping from 11 down to 19. That Michigan team can't really move up any further because Tennessee's going to block that slot. Same thing with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. All these teams are kind of moving. So even though Michigan has a big win against USC, they're only going to really move up 2 or 3 ranking slots. Now, that brings up a really great question. These are individual simulations, but there's a bigger picture of all these different potential scores that could happen and winners and losers. Right now, when you use the Rankings Right Now simulation tool, you're using one simulation. You're putting in the scores, and then you're seeing what actually happens out of that. But what if we were able to run like 10,000 simulations? Well, I've already done the hard work for you, and I have actually posted this up into Tableau Public. And now you can go ahead and look at any individual team for the week and see the potential range of outcomes that could come out of it. So if we look at Nebraska, if we look at all of the 10,000 simulations that were run for week 4, the biggest chance that they have at the end of all of the simulations was a 25% chance, or 25% of all of the simulations that were run, they ended up as the 16 seed. If you look at their this top section right here, it shows the potential rankings given that they win the game. And if that's the case, as you see right here, 16, there's a 35% chance that they end up as the 16 seed. There's a 30% chance that they end up as a 17 seed. However, if they lose this game, which, by the way, according to ESPN's FPI, they have roughly about a 68% chance of winning the game against Illinois. If they lose, they're most likely going to drop out of the top 25. There was not a single simulation that saw them lose and continue to be ranked within the top 25. We can also search for Illinois and see where they end up. So everything changes right in real time. Illinois has a 31% chance of winning. Now, if we go ahead and look at the overall ranking likelihood, their most likely scenario is them to be out of the top 25, which makes sense. They're barely in the top 25. If they lose to Nebraska, they most likely won't be in it. But if they actually win that game in Nebraska, which is going to be an electric environment, they are most likely to move up to the 18 slot, which is 32% of the time, or the 17 slot, 27% of the time. There were 52 out of 10 million simulations where they ended up as the 14 seed. Very, very unlikely, or a 0.52%. Yeah, 52 out of 10,000 simulations, they ended up as the 14 seed. So an unlikely scenario, but there's still a chance. Anyways, back to rankings right now. One other thing that I want to encourage everyone to do is go ahead and go into the Rankem Challenge. For those of you who have never done the Rankem Challenge before, it is like college pick'em, but on steroids. We don't want you to pick the winners and losers, but we want you to pick the winners and losers and the scores to see what the anticipated rankings will be. So everyone has the chance to go ahead and go in and see what the predicted rankings are right now. If you like how this algorithm is used, you can go ahead and click on Use Predicted Outcome, and it'll go ahead and bring these all in. If you think there's a couple of changes, like for example, if you think Oklahoma State, who is favored to beat Utah this weekend, is going to move up a little bit higher than 12. Let's say you think they're going to move up to 10. Go ahead and click on the Edit button on 10 and change this to Oklahoma State. Insert team, and everything adjusts. Once you're happy with your rankings and your setup, go ahead and click Submit My Rankings, and we'll go ahead and say that your rankings have been submitted. It's a weekly competition. You'll see at the end of the week how well you were able to match up with everyone else. It's going to be a really fun weekend of college football. Finally, some consistent big matchups. Conference games are starting to happen. A lot of different rankings are going to be moving around. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, wherever you get your social media. We're posting it in real time. And please go to rankingsrightnow.com to play around with the What If Simulator and really have a good idea of what are the potential outcomes that you might see this weekend. Subscribe to the newsletter for in-depth analysis, and have a great weekend.